Bandicoot Retrospective. Press start to begin.
The year is 2008, and just like Crash of the Titans, Crash Mind Over Mutant also had a handheld version that was different from its console counterpart. This version of Crash Mind Over Mutant was developed by Tose, or T-O-S-E, I don't really know which one they prefer, making this the second of two Crash games that were developed in Japan. The only other Crash game developed in Japan was Crash Boom Bang. God, I hope that isn't an omen for things to come. I'm kinda coming into this game with higher hopes than I thought I would have had. Not only was the DS version of Crash of the Titans actually really fun, but Crash Mind Over Mutant's console version was a vast improvement over the original. Will this game be a match made in heaven, or will I have to suffer through more of Crash Bandicoot's everlasting mediocrity? Let's find out. This game takes place right after the events of Crash of the Titans on the DS, as shown by the fact that the wreckage of the Cortex bot is here instead of the Doominator. One day, Dr. Cortex creates the NV, a virtual reality entertainment system that is actually a portable version of both the Evolvo Ray and the Cortex Vortex. Its prime function is to take control of its users and mutate them. Crunch ends up buying a bunch of them for himself and his friends, Crash's breaks, Aku Aku's doesn't fit, and Coco and Crunch get mind-controlled. Much like the console version, Crash and Aku Aku have to save the other Bandicoots and stop Cortex once and for all. Doesn't it feel like there's a lot missing? For one thing, there's no Uka Uka once again, and more importantly, there is no Dr. Nitrous Brio. He was the best part of the story in the console version. Why wouldn't they include him? Hell, Nina is only here for the intro cutscene and then never comes back. None of the boss characters come back either. All of the bosses in this game are just the Titans. Hell, the final boss is a combination of all the Titan mutants called the Chimera. Literally, the only Crash Bandicoot characters prevalent here are Crash, Coco, Crunch, Aku Aku, and Cortex. All of the funny character writing? Gone. Most of the Crash Bandicoot characters? Gone. All of the story writing improvements that the console version had over Crash of the Titans? Gone. All of the charm? Absolutely gone. When you think about it, all of these changes make the story lack any sort of logic. In the console version, we find out that the NVs that Cortex and Brio create are powered by bad mojo that was milked from Uka Uka. Without Uka Uka in this story, how the hell do these NVs work now? How did Cortex get the technology for the Evolvo Ray to be put inside the NVs without Brio? Honestly, I think this is one of the worst Crash Bandicoot stories ever. Yes, I think it's worse than Crash Boom Bang's story. That's how boring and uninspired this story is. With all of that in mind, Crash Mind Over Mutant for the DS's story gets my rating of an F. What happened here? This can't be the game, can it? Crash of the Titans on the DS was the perfect fusion of old and newer Crash. None of that is here. Crash Mind Over Mutant on consoles was an open world adventure that fleshed out the world of this new Crash Bandicoot and made it all feel connected for better or for worse. That's not here either. Even though story-wise this game is a sequel to the DS version of Crash of the Titans, gameplay-wise this is a sequel for Crash of the Titans on the Game Boy Advance. This was the worst decision they could have possibly done for this game. They had 3 different gameplay styles to work with, and they went with the most boring one? Enough comparisons. Just like its predecessor, that's a comparison. Crash Mind Over Mutant on the DS keeps the level-to-level structure of Crash of the Titans. Much like the Game Boy Advance version of Crash of the Titans, each level is a 2D side-scroller where Crash can beat up and jack Titans. The only goal that you have is to get to the end of the stage. That is it. There are a bunch of Wumpa fruits to collect, all they do is give you health. There are a bunch of boxes, but they don't matter. Hell, after a while, collecting Mojo barely matters. The way Mojo works in this game is slightly different than usual. When you collect Mojo, it gets put into a gauge. When the gauge is full, you can do one of two things with it. You can spend the gauge to make Crash invincible for a short time, or you can use them to contribute towards powering up your Titan. Give your Titan enough Mojo and they'll evolve into a much stronger version of their base self. That is just about as complex as the gameplay gets. There's nothing that gets you engaged in the levels. There's nothing to collect within each stage. You think this would just make the game easy peasy, very cool, done quickly, but by God, this game is so dull. I'm struggling to write anything about this game because the gameplay is so low effort and unremarkable, due to the fact that there is no incentive to participate in anything within the stage. It makes you question why you should even bother. Hell, the boss fights aren't even boss fights. The boss fights in this game are just fighting the Titan enemies you've already fought and used, but now they have an expanded moveset. They're super easy too. All you have to do is go in there with the same Titan but powered up, and bam, you'll win in a matter of seconds. It's nothing. This game is nothing. This game is the most nothing game I think I've ever played, my God. I literally had to watch back at my gameplay to remember how this game even played. I forgot it as soon as I finished it. With all of that in mind, Crash Mind Over Mutant on the DS's gameplay gets my rating of a D. So graphically, this game isn't the worst. The models of all the characters actually don't look half bad. They look way better than they did in the DS version of Crash of the Titans, especially Nina. Too bad Nina appears for all of 2 seconds in this game. Everything looks as it should, and I gotta give this game credit. For as many cliche video game environments this game has, it has a couple of cool ones too. Of course, you get your woods, your desert, and your evil lab, but you also get a cool crystallized mountaintop level and a polluted forest level. These set pieces look really nice with amazing graphic design and cool backgrounds. That kind of makes it sting much more that the gameplay doesn't allow you to enjoy the artistry here that much. I would complain about the lack of voice acting, but after Crash of the Titans on DS's attempts,
Mr. Bandicoot!
Yeah, no, I'm glad they went back to the text boxes and small voice clips. Now, the music. I'm so sick and tired of the music in these games being a whole lot of nothing. I'm not kidding when I say that a lot, and I mean a lot, of the songs in this game sound the exact same. If you told me that these were just 3 variations of the same song, I'd believe you. I think that what really contributes to the boring nature of this soundtrack is that there isn't enough of it. Every level in a single world will have the same level theme. I know this isn't uncommon for Crash games, but previous Crash games did this in a much smarter way. In classic Crash, every time you entered a type of level, you would hear the same song. For example, in Crash 2, every jet ski level has the same song, every sewer level uses the same song, and every jungle level uses the same song. This is the smart way to reuse songs though, because you're not hearing the same exact song 5 times in a row and then moving on. More than likely, you'll hear 4 to 5 different songs per world, so you don't have time to get sick of any single song. In this game, you have to hear the same boring song for 8 levels in a row. The boss themes are just as boring. Like, listen to this boss theme. Does that sound like an epic boss theme to you? Compare that to this. It's no contest. The only song in the entire game that I remembered and, dare I say, liked, was the bonus level theme. It perfectly matches the tension you feel trying to get through these bonus levels as quick as possible. That bass line goes so hard. As for the rest of the game's soundtrack, just like Crash in the sole video that exists on YouTube of this OST, I'm sleeping. With all of that in mind, Crash Mind Over Mutant for the DS's presentation gets my rating of a D. Surprisingly, for a boring, bare-bone game like this one, there is a completion requirement other than finishing the game. It's not much of one, but it's there. To complete Crash Mind Over Mutant for the DS, you must collect every scroll and every present in this game. That's right, not crystals, not gems, not mojo, not fruit, scrolls, and presents. Can you get any more stereotypical video game? Either way, each world has 1 scroll and 3 presents to collect. Due to the fact that there is limited research on this game and the game itself really doesn't make it clear, I'm not super sure what these items do, but here are my best guesses. The scrolls seem to create shortcuts throughout the world, making it so you can speed your way through towards the end. The presents seem to give you alternate costumes in very much the same vein as Crash of the Titans, giving you special abilities depending on which costumes you wear. At least the costumes tell you what they do this time. You get the scrolls and presents in the same exact way. In stages that have blue circles with stars on them, there is a secret entrance, much like the bonuses in the classic Crash games. This will lead Crash to an obstacle course that you must complete under a time limit. Some of these are actually pretty difficult, but fun to get through. This is where the most fun level design in the game is, and actually was the only times in this game that I can say I was fully engaged. So what do you get for collecting every scroll and every present? You get a whole bunch of nothing. The final reward that you get in this game is given to you when you finish the game. You get access to using the Chimera Titan and the Golden Crash costume. The Golden Crash costume is essentially supersonic but for Crash. You move twice as fast and you can spin infinitely. You get absolutely nothing for getting every item, however. Would I recommend completing this game? I mean, it's not difficult, but it's not particularly rewarding either. I guess if you're going to put your time into this game, you may as well complete it to make it seem like less nothing than the game already is. I'm not exaggerating when I say that I think this is one of the most boring games I've ever played. Playing through this game, the most difficult thing that I had to overcome was not falling asleep while playing through a single level. With a story that feels watered down and gets rid of all of the improvements that its console counterpart implemented, gameplay that is just a whole lot of nothing, presentation that's okay but is wasted on this snooze fest, and a completion that only gives a tiny bit more of a reason to interact with the design of this game, Crash Mind Over Mutant on the DS is just plain dull. I've played games of varying quality on this retrospective. Some truly great, some masterpieces, some terrible, some just okay. This one embodies nothing the most. Much like the Crash Bandicoot series after this release, this game really just is a whole bunch of nothing. With all of that in mind, Crash Mind Over Mutant on the DS gets my overall rating of a D. What a real disappointment. Thank you everybody so much for watching this video, and if you like the Crash retrospective, please like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this one, and hit that bell so you don't miss the next episode. We also have merch in the description below where you can get our shirts, mugs, and stickers to enrich your gameplay experience. I'd like to give a special shout out to Andrew's Retro Games for being the most well-esteemed guest of them all. You could also become a channel member to get all of these videos when I'm finished editing them as opposed to when they're scheduled to come out. Next week, we'll be looking at the next Crash game in the lineup, the Insane Trilogy version of Crash Bandicoot. With that, I'm Bottles, and I bid you, my well-esteemed guests, adieu.